One day I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. I don't let it get the most of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be everything I'm gonna be. My future right in front of me. One day I'm gonna be free. I wanna be free. Then let me be free.
From the depths of darkness, a voice emerges. A host with a fire burning in his soul. With a heart of steel and a spirit unbroken. He rides on two wheels ready to claim his throne. Amidst the chaos and the thunderous roar, insane wheels rise as a force to be reckoned with. Fueled by the power that only metal can bestow. He takes his stand, refusing to submit. Insane wheels hear his battle cry. A metal mayhem that will never die. With engines roaring, he paves his way. A legend in the making, day by day.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, we got a big morning ahead of us, as we seem to always do. Good morning to everybody. Let's get it. All right, so we've got a lot to discuss over the last, I would say, 12 hours. There's been some activity. There was about 7 hours of strikes that were going on last night from the United States side. But first, let's go ahead and get into the title here, what we are going to be discussing. Iran war escalates, as well as U.S. expands strikes, and Tehran retaliates, which is the main northern part of Iran. That's like their main city up there. All right, so let's go ahead and give you guys the chronological breakdown of what we're going to be discussing this morning. Large scrapyard fire erupts in Philadelphia area. There's a lot of fires going on, I've noticed. There's a lot of chaos going on with fires right now, especially up there in Canada. I forget the amount of the number of actual fires that are going on in Canada right now. It's insane. If you guys looked, I really didn't know too much about it, but I have heard even you guys in the chat complain about smoke and stuff like that. And then I was watching the Coffee Crew this morning, and they were talking about Ontario, or whatever the case. I think it was Ontario, and the fire that's going on up there and how big it is. It's terrible. All right, so we've got that first fire that's happening over there in Philadelphia, a big scrapyard fire. Then we're going to be discussing U.S. forces launch second wave of strikes at Iran, meaning in the same day, I think. That's from yesterday, by the way. That was right after we basically got off the live stream yesterday morning. And then we have, this was breaking, a shooting at a Kroger grocery store in Houston area just happened yesterday. Let me see if it gives me any. It says authorities are on scene following a reported shooting at a Kroger in the Houston area. Okay, well, it doesn't give us any other details than that, so we're gonna have to wait until we get onto that report. Let's see here. We got point. I think they say it point. I don't know if it's pointy or point fire updates. This is a California brush. A fire threatens homes, prompts evacuation warnings, and this is coming out 16 hours ago. Let me read this. We are watching this Wednesday, which was yesterday, as firefighters are working to knock down a fire in California amid the ongoing heat wave in Santa Clarita and the rest of the state. According to their partners over there at Fox, it says structures continue to be threatened in the area, and the fire has quickly grown to 30 acres with no containment. Los Angeles County fire authorities said the fire, dubbed the Pointy Fire or Point Fire, broke out at 21380 Century Pointy Parkway. I've never even heard of that area, but whatever. Just it happened at 1 p.m. yesterday for their time, local. And then we're going to be running into Trump. Trump announces release of American held in Iran since 2024. And that was actually a big story that happened yesterday. I didn't see too much of discussion other than what Trump, basically tweeted or posted, whatever. But it was very cool to hear that they actually, meaning Iran, they could have used that very moment to execute that person because she's from the United States, whatever. And I do believe it was a woman. And then we have Trump reverses suspension of ICE traffic stops after fatal shootings. It says President Donald Trump overturned the suspension of ICE traffic stops on Wednesday, which was yesterday. This comes after the Department of Homeland Security sent a memo on Tuesday directing all vehicle stops to be suspended in the wake of deadly ICE shootings in Texas and in Maine in recent weeks. And yes, we discussed that yesterday, I believe, and if not the day before, we kind of touched on that. And then it says right here, 11 hours ago, Trump tells Tehran to quote unquote behave as U.S. wraps up fresh strikes on Iran. That was 11 hours ago. But then we basically went overnight last night for about 7 hours of continued strikes. It was relentless. Let's see. U.S. expands strikes into northern Iran, which is Tehran. Tehran launches retaliation drone strikes, drone attack. So I'm not really sure what they are shooting at. Let's see. It says hitting targets further north as American forces also fired into a ship the U.S. accused of trying to break its naval blockade on the Islamic Republic. And yes, that did happen. We disabled a ship yesterday. The United States did. And then we have Rubio launches efforts to target left-wing terrorists. I'm not really sure exactly who he's talking about right there, but we can only, guess until we bring it up. So anyways, quickly, let's go ahead and do our call to actions, and then we'll get into the madness this morning. Make sure you guys hit that like button, double tap that screen if you guys are on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it, and it's free to do so. You know what else is free is hitting that subscribe button. This is what we do Monday through Friday. And then, of course, we have members only on Saturday morning, man. It's a good time. Please consider becoming a member. Speaking of members, starting only at $4.99 a month, making sure we're not breaking the bank out there with anybody. But check it out. This is what allows us to be on these airwaves as well as have these lights on. So thank you guys for becoming members and staying members. Little side note here. Follow my Instagram at BallValveTV, where I post everything behind the scenes of not only my life, but as well as the show, Millennial Food Time, breaking news, as well as politics. All that great shit. It's a great way to get a hold of me one-on-one. And we have a Discord server for all of you legends where I actually break down minute by minute breaking news in the Middle East. I really didn't do much of that yesterday, but yes, because I was on the Diamond Effect and kind of focusing on that show. And then last but not least, all super chats, super stickers, gifted memberships, and membership signups are, of course, all going to be presented live and shouted out onto the show. But if you guys like to skip that YouTube 30% brutal cut that they take from your hard-earned cash, we have these platforms that are scrolling around the screen at any time. You can donate to those. And, of course, I get 100% of the proceeds. And listen, of course, we'll read out loud anything that comes our way, just like a normal super chat. So I've got our email scanning always. All right, good morning to all of you legends, man. I can't thank you guys enough. We got Papa D coming in hot this morning with the 420, by the way, saying cheap and lit hello. Absolutely. I very much appreciate that, Papa D. Thank you for that. And he sends in another 420 saying another cheap yet still lit hello. Yes, sir. That's a W. I very much appreciate that. Good morning to you, kind sir. We got Carney Vanguard that was first in the chat this morning. Let's see. We got Easy Frank as well as Motobomb Virginia. And yes, thank you to the coffee crew for the raid this morning. I can't thank you guys enough for the love and support that you guys show me right here on Insane Wheels. We got Charles Darwin as well. Good morning from down under, my man. We got Naomi as well. Good morning to you. Let's see here. We got brother PJ. Shout out to my man, as well as Rabbit of Chaos. Good morning to you. Always appreciate you guys. Let's see. We're running our way down fast as possible. We got Pablo. Good morning to you, kind sir. Let's see here. Yes, that's right. Morning, you fuckers. Blessings. Facts. Vanguard Critters. Good morning to you as well. David. Yes, sir. We got light them up. We're about to light up a little left-handed or counterclockwise tobacco here in a minute too. A different light up, Anyways, let's see. We got Sick Bastard as well. Good morning to you, kind sir. We got Virginia Chaos. Good morning to you as well. We got Steve Posey. Shout out to my man, as well as brother So Loud from the Boondocks of North Carolina. Good morning. We got Charlie Rose as well. And OG brother Steve Easy. Shout out to my man. We got Prez as well. Good morning. We're running our way down. I promise I'm working my as fast as humanly possible here. I promise. It is hard to go through and sort all the comments. We got Bill Castle as well. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat over there from Washington, the state of Washington. Let's see here. And yes, so they ended up selling us out and putting the U.S. military, Israeli military provisions through yesterday. So wait, didn't they stopped that shit in the Senate, didn't they? But so what ended up happening? They snuck it through a different way. That shit wouldn't be surprising to me at all. We got Slim, my man. Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, bro. We got brother KP as well. Shout out to my man. All right, let's go ahead and get into the madness this morning. There's a lot of craziness. We're going to start off with this first story, though. Large scrapyard fire erupts in Philadelphia area.
In the meantime, we are following some other breaking news that we want to share with you here. This is coming out of the Philadelphia region. You're taking a live look as right now firefighters are battling a massive fire that engulfed a scrapyard just outside of Philadelphia this morning. And here's what we know.
So we've got two different fires we're going to be no. Is it two different fires? Yes. The one that we're going to be talking about over there in California and this one first and over there in Philadelphia. Now, these front little reports that we're going to be doing is actually very quick. There's only like a minute
about
each.
This. Crews responded to a scrapyard on Industrial Drive in the Darby Borough of Delaware County. Firefighters used ladder trucks to battle thick black smoke and heavy flames that are overwhelming the facility, as you can see here on your screen by this live look. It's unknown at this time how the fire started or if there are any injuries. Now, officials have urged nearby residents to avoid exposure to potentially harmful smoke. It's advised that residents should avoid going outside and close all windows and doors. Officials also suggest recirculating air with fans to avoid bringing pollutants into your home. Air quality in the Philadelphia area was already expected to be poor from Canadian wildfire smoke. So that is the latest we're hearing from officials.
All right. So that's the latest on that as of right now. It doesn't look like there's any other reports other than just that. So hopefully they got that contained. Let's see here. We've got an update here from there was a shooting at a Kroger grocery store in the Houston area yesterday. So let's go ahead and bring this up and figure out what the hell's going on here.
Want to take you out live right now. We are following some breaking news out of Houston. A shooting at a Kroger grocery store. Here is what we know at this hour. Deputies with Constable Mark Herman's office responded to the Cypress Wood Drive following reports of shots fired inside the Kroger store. Preliminary reports indicate that multiple people
inside the store
have been shot. The exact number of victims and the extent of their injuries are
multiple people got shot.
Unknown at this time. Witnesses reported that a black male wearing a yellow shirt and black pants was seen firing a weapon inside the store.
Wait, what was the description? I talked over
unknown at this time. Witnesses reported that a black male wearing a yellow shirt and black pants.
Oh, shit.
Was seen firing a weapon inside the store. A possible suspect has been detained, but the investigation remains ongoing as authorities work to determine the suspect's involvement. Multiple law enforcement officers and emergency personnel are on the scene, and that's what.
What's up, No Grow? Good morning.
We're seeing right now as we are taking a look right outside of that store. And again, active investigation is going on. You are seeing police interact with the public and really the media as well. But this happening at a Kroger grocery store right now out in Houston. Active investigation is happening at this moment here. And again, the latest updates are coming that multiple people have been shot. The exact number of victims and the extent of their injuries unknown at this time. So very fluid at this moment here as police continue to really track this investigation. But the red tape is out. And of course, the store is shut down at this moment while they do this investigation. But it looks like they are allowing maybe some team.
I'll tell you what, this team that's going in or whatever, being moved or whatever, they all look kind of like the same lefty crazy motherfuckers. You know, they just look like
back into the store there at this moment. And you're taking a look here at as people might want to get any of their belongings that they had inside of that store.
What do you mean belongings? They didn't buy anything yet, right? I mean, and if they did, they push your card out. I mean, I guess, whatever. I don't know. All right, let's go ahead and move on quickly. I did want to give a special shout out to Bill Castle, my man. He's going to be turning 60 tomorrow. Let me see here. I think it was 60. Yes. Tomorrow I finally turn 60. Oh my God, I made it. Well, happy birthday to you, bro. Great to see you hanging out with us, by the way. We always appreciate you hanging out with us. All right, let's get into the second fire here that's going on over there in California. It's about 30 acres that are being burned, and they said 0% were contained at the time of this reporting yesterday.
News that is happening in California, in Santa Clarita, of a wildfire that just happened about 90 minutes ago. And we want to go to the coverage of our friends over at Fox 11 Los Angeles. Let's listen right now on Live Now.
Dumping around. It was a ballet of water drop after water drop after water drop, and those flames were put out really quickly. I just did catch a glimpse of a helicopter down below the slide picture from Skyfox, but I didn't see an actual water drop. It may have. I don't know. Now it's really hard to see any of the flames given the thick gray black smoke out there. So as mentioned, air quality is absolutely going to be an issue on this very hot day in
any fire is going to be an issue.
Santa Clarita. I'm refreshing my Watch Duty app to see if we have any more information here. This was last updated 31 minutes ago, so that is not new information. This is being called the Point Fire, said to be 5 acres.
Okay, I didn't know if it was point or pointee. As you guys can see here, Pointe. So, I mean, I'm just illiterate.
LA County Fire responding. I'm checking my resources at LA County Fire here. Give me just 1 second while I look up some more information. Still no new warnings or mandatory evacuations from LA County Fire. This did break out 21,300 block of Center Point Parkway in Santa Clarita. And there are some neighborhoods nearby these flames that were under evacuation warning for LA County at large. There's an extreme heat warning impacting many areas of LA County, if not all areas of LA.
Are you serious, Brother So Loud? Oh, yeah, that's right. It is your birthday today as well. Wow, we got a whole bunch of you freaking legends that are leveling up. That's awesome.
County. As
Happy
mentioned,
birthday,
today is
So Loud.
forecasted to be the hottest day of the week. And so of all days for this fire to break out, it's not great news. I'm just happy to be able to report that they do have those water dropping helicopters up. And hopefully we can call this a knockdown within the next hour. I would love to be able to say that this is out in terms of a percentage of containment.
See, this is what happens. These kind of reporting, it happens when they don't have any information. They're waiting on information, and they're stuck there having to give a monologue over something that they don't have too much information on. Now, I do see images here a little bit. I want to fast forward to this, where I see personnel over here to the left on this like crossroads, whatever little area. And you've got that big fire right there.
Flames have been put out. Here is really a focus.
That's probably the fire department.
Focal point for these crews here on the ground. It's been a while since we've seen a water drop from LA County, but hopefully that happens in the near.
That's right, KP. What am I doing? Let me light this up. Here we go. Shit.
Future. Going to do my best to get you some more information. When these things happen, you can imagine that the resources they're stretched thin, so it's hard to get. If we had somebody on the line with LA County Fire,
damn it.
But the connection got lost, unfortunately. But in terms of information regarding alerts from LA County,
there we go.
The last one was issued at 2:10, warning of an evacuation warning for those people who live near Center Point Parkway. This is where those flames were called in at 1:40. LAFD, LA County Fire. There are two different agencies, LAFD with the city and LA County. LA County Fire got the call at 1:40, so coming up on exactly 60 minutes ago, 1 hour ago. And that's when they got out there. They got word of a brush fire. They have the boots on the ground. They have the water dropping helicopters, although I wish I knew where those helicopters are. And they must be getting some more water because it's been a while since we've seen a water drop. But in terms,
no, actually, it's actually not for what you think it is. It actually is so that it's so I save money, actually. So as you can see right here, I just fold up some cardboard or whatever. And so when I am finished with this, it burns all the way to right here, and I don't end up throwing away a whole roach full of left-handed tobacco, right? So it's actually to save me money. Actually, that's what it's there for. Not because it's actually stopping anything. It's not stopping shit. It just doesn't allow the shit to go into my mouth, I guess. But that's not why I put it in there. It's because I'm cheap.
In terms of a mandatory evacuation order, I would say surprisingly, one has not been issued, but I'm not a firefighter. They know what they're doing. I'm not.
Yeah, but I fixed it. I fixed my fuck up immediately, though, Steve Posey, but I'll give it to you. Absolutely. We got to embrace.
Don't beat yourself up over past mistakes. You are going to fuck up again in the future, quite possibly in a most spectacular fashion. Why worry about yesterday's fuck ups when you have tomorrow's fuck ups to look forward to? You are a fuck up, and fucking up is part of your growth process. Embrace the process.
You shall always embrace the process. That's what we do over here. Absolutely.
Questioning the work of LA County Fire, but at this point, it is just an evacuation warning for this area near.
Bill Castle, my man. To answer this really quick, the answer is no. And there's a reason for it. It's because I don't want to have a website or a third party give out merchandise and make the merchandise like that, and then where I never even see it. It's like drop shipping. A lot of people use that, and there's nothing wrong for people that use that. I just have a weird thing where I want to actually have the product here at my house. And before I just, decide to sell anything, I want to actually have the product in hand so I can inspect it. I want to fucking make sure that it's done right. And then I'll ship it out once a week or whatever on people's orders. I just haven't found a reliable production company or not production company, whatever t-shirt company or hats and all that stuff. I just haven't come across one yet. And I'm kind of like I'm waiting for the opportunity kind of thing. So
the flames that erupted on Center Point Parkway. So the flames have a whole lot of vegetation to burn through, a lot of thick brush out there, and then the steep terrain make it difficult for the boots on the ground, hence why it's so important to get those water-dropping helicopters out and dropping those loads of water. I'm going to check in with my crew here, and I'm going to stay silent just for 1 second. And while we give you these live pictures, we got the dozer on the ground, so that's good. You see all the hose lines. You see the boots on the ground. Again, these firefighters, they are dealing with temperatures close to 100 degrees. At last check, it was 99 degrees in Santa Clarita. Let's just call it a 100-degree day there.
Tommy, good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat, by the way.
And as mentioned, the best news that we can report is that they aren't dealing with significant winds. So that's going to be working in the favor of the firefight. Thank goodness. It would be a much different scenario.
Oh, I'm totally down. I will do that.
If they were dealing with heavy winds. They have heavy brush, heavy fuels out there, but they don't have the heavy winds. So we'll take the winds when we can get them.
I don't know why you would want winds. I think winds is exactly the opposite of what you want. Anyways, I'm not an expert. I'm not a fireman. Let's go ahead and move on to this next story, though. Trump announces release of American held in Iran since 2024. And I believe this woman, like this whole thing it's actually a bigger story than people are talking about, actually. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and bring this up and talk about it briefly.
You're watching live now.
Because Iran could have just executed her, yesterday when this happened? They could have just executed her, and instead they actually released her.
I'm Austin Westfall. Breaking news out of the Middle East. President Trump posting this moments ago, saying that Iran has allowed an American citizen who was wrongfully detained in December of 2024 under the presidency of Sleepy Joe Biden, he says, to leave the country. She is now safely outside of Iran and in good condition. He says the U.S. appreciates this gesture of goodwill by Iran. So that's just coming through now. And then we're also hearing from the news wires, from news outlets like Reuters. They are saying that there are also sounds of sirens in Bahrain, the interior ministry there saying that. So that all happening as we're coming online talking about the latest in the Middle East. It's about 7:30 Eastern time. We're going to discuss all the developments that we've been tracking in the past 24 hours. Let's start with this, a report from Lucas Tomlinson. He reports from the region.
Yeah, this is coming from U.S. Central Command.
American air campaign against Iran has expanded. U.S. Navy jets now
The
launching
video is not the report.
strikes around the clock, including daylight hours, in an effort to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. This afternoon, U.S. forces hit Greater Tum Island, outside the Strait of Hormuz, for the first time. The increased volume of airstrikes an attempt to clear a path through the Strait of Hormuz to increase shipping volume and potentially paving the way for U.S. warships to sail through, something that hasn't happened for 2 months. The U.S. naval blockade has now been in effect for more than 24 hours, forcing at least 2 commercial vessels to reverse course. With Iranian ports now closed, U.S. officials estimate the return of this economic strangulation will cost Iran more than $400 million per day. Iran is striking back, hitting 7 commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz with up to a dozen crew members killed, missing, or wounded. Iran has attacked Jordan, Kuwait, Oman.
Now, this is, within the last week or so that they're showing the video footage. It's this last, kind of like the last 7 days, really.
On Bahrain, Qatar, and UAE in recent days, with dozens of drones and missiles. Interestingly, Israel has not rejoined the bombing campaign against Iran, but are prepared if Iran fires first.
Absolutely. That's where Trump is like, put, Israel in the naughty corner and said, you got to chill out right there, be in timeout. You need to relax over there. You need to calm down, right?
Do not count on it being quiet if you attack us. Do not count
Because
on it.
truthfully, if it were up to Bibi Netanyahu, he would absolutely be involved in the actual strikes right now. But, Trump is like, nah, you ain't doing that today.
Rerun, because it will not be a rerun.
Netanyahu is expected to fly to Washington this weekend. A meeting with President
I have the latest on the strikes that were happening in the last 12 hours, basically. So I'll give you guys those here
Trump
soon.
has not yet been scheduled. In Tel Aviv, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and bring up my sources like I did yesterday. Even though it is AI, but I did some research on this, and as well as the sources that are being, used here. So this is the last 12 hours. U.S. military activity. The United States completed another major wave of airstrikes, hitting dozens of Iranian targets over roughly 7 hours. And that's where that number I gave you guys earlier on the live stream was exactly this. This being sourced by AP, the Associated Press. Then we have the confirmed target categories included Iranian command centers, air defense positions, ballistic and cruise missile capabilities, as well as drone facilities and coastal surveillance systems coming out from Reuters. And Bandar Abbas, which is that main port for Iran that's right in the choke of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's principal port and an important Iranian Navy and Revolutionary Guard hub on the Strait of Hormuz was struck, and that's being reported by Reuters. Then U.S. strikes reported expanded farther north than earlier rounds, which reaching around, the areas of Tehran. And this is exactly what the regime is hoping that doesn't happen, is real strikes happening in Tehran. And that being, reported by AP. Additional attacks were reported in southern and southeastern Iran, including the Hormozagan. I can't pronounce these locations, but you guys can look at it. Kazakhstan, whatever. The U.S. is continuing enforcement of its naval blockade of Iranian ports, which we just already explained that yesterday and even the day before about how that's going to be implemented and why and blah, 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 whatever. A U.S. aircraft fired on and disabled the oil tanker Belma after CENTCOM said it ignored, and it was actual multiple warnings. It wasn't just warnings. It was multiple warnings while sailing toward Karg Island. That's up there in the northern part of that whole area. So let me actually give you guys a real quick. I have to go back to this side. I have to select this. Give me a second here. Okay, so as you guys can see, this is Bandar Abbas. This is inside the choke of the strait. This is one of their main ports here, okay? So the ship that we attacked, the United States, was a ship that was going up to here to Karg Island. So it must have, what I'm assuming is it was taking the IRGC's route, obviously. And the United States is like, no, you're not going to do that. Now, let me quickly show you guys what those routes actually look like. And this is the best one I could find on any of this. So let me see if it'll share this tab. Boom. See if it does it. Boom. Okay, good. So this is the best one I could find. I was looking everywhere to find something that actually showed the United States and / Oman's what our routes are going to be and what they have been and what they are established to be, and then what the IRGC is doing. And you guys can see the inbound traffic would theoretically, if the IRGC wants all these ships to go into the strait like this, and then actually go in between Larak, which is one of the smaller islands just off of Kesem Island. And that was implemented so that they could start collecting tolls after the 60-day part of the MOU. That's why they were doing this. They were setting it up so that it's kind of like politics, right? When politicians start using words a certain way, it doesn't even have to be kind of real, but if you say it enough, it becomes real, kind of thing. And that's exactly what this kind of ideology was. They're like, if we can push it to this, then we know we can execute at the end of this, being able to collect tolls. So anyways, this is why you see so much hostilities regards to the shipping industry, because ships are taking what they think they should be taking. And then all of a sudden there's consequences for it, right? So anyways, let me go and bring our thing back over here. I want to show the Iranian retaliation here quickly before we get into the story again here. Iranian retaliation. Iran launched missile and drone attacks before dawn toward countries hosting U.S. forces such as Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan. And that's been the same kind of rhetoric for the last, it's been like this for a minute now, right? Kuwait reported another incoming attack later Thursday, which was yesterday, with its defenses responding to hostile fire. This coming out from the AP. As of the latest reporting, there were no confirmed major casualties or major damage from those attacks, though, in the regards to the incoming attacks from Iran. Another drone struck or approached a tanker near Basra in southern Iraq, reportedly causing only minor damage and no casualties. Responsibility had not been independently confirmed. So anyways, I just wanted to quickly bring that to your attention so you guys know exactly where we're at, basically minute by minute. But let me go and bring this back up quickly and get back into this.
Bring in retired Marine intelligence officer, national security analyst, and the host of the Strap podcast, Hal Kempfer. He's here with me. Let's begin with the breaking news of the hour. President Trump saying that Iran has allowed an American citizen who was wrongfully detained in December of 2024 to leave the country. Trump says that she is now safe, she's out of Iran, and she is in good condition. We are at the time of...
What's up, brother Jack Talcott? Great to see you in the chat, by the way. Sorry, I was doing a whole bunch of reading and stuff, so I'm catching up with the chat right now. But good morning and blessings.
This conversation, it's just about 7:30 Eastern time. At the time of taping this, we do not know the identity of the woman. We'll wait for more information, perhaps from the White House on that. But Hal, your initial reaction to Iran making what Trump is calling possibly a gesture of goodwill?
Austin, it's interesting. That could be part of that factions, or the two factions kind of in competition within the regime. On the one hand, you have, Foreign Minister Rogchi, President Pezeshkian, to a lesser extent, the Speaker of the Parliament, Galibov.
Yes, by the way, all I ask you guys to do is just hit that like button, please. We put a lot of work. I dedicate my life to keeping up on all this shit. So I very much appreciate you guys hitting that like button, double tapping that screen if you're on the vertical side. I very much appreciate it. All right, here we go.
Well, he came from the Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're the ones that have been the faces, the voices, the people that we've been talking to in negotiations. And then you have this hardliner group that's with the Revolutionary Guard Corps. And it kind of makes me wonder if they're doing this gesture of goodwill. Of course, at the same time, the Revolutionary Guard Corps is ordering strikes on Bahrain, which has been a pattern we've seen before, where they're trying to do something to, basically try to put oil on troubled water, so to speak, or whatever. And And at the same time, the Revolutionary Guard Corps is on a completely separate sheet of music. So it's rather interesting. By the way, I should mention, I don't know how many American citizens are held by Iran. Usually they're Iranian Americans. Of course, with that, they would hold.
What's up, panel verse? Good morning to you as well.
Iranian citizenship as well. But the U.S. has a lot of Iranian Americans. I'm in Southern California. We have a very large, Los Angeles has the largest Iranian American community, or the largest ethnic Iranian community in any city outside of Iran. So
thank you, Lou.
So there's a lot of back and forth that people don't realize. They look at Iran, they go, who would travel to Iran? Well, they travel to Iran because that's where their relatives live. And it is not uncommon that they will sometimes be taken into custody and held for a long period of time. And the Iranians use them as a bargaining chip. In fact, there was a Iranian proxy group that was holding a female American journalist hostage, and she was released in April, not that long ago. So this is not an uncommon pattern that we've seen in the region, and it's certainly not an uncommon.
No, this is the cycle that we seem to be stuck in right now. And I really don't see a very easy exit strategy for the United States on this. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into this next ordeal here. Trump reverses suspension of ICE traffic stops after fatal shootings. Now, this is something that we have covered in the past days. Because there's been a lot of talk about this, but
welcome back in to Live Now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. It's good to be with you. Now to some immigration news. It's an about face. Take a look here. The Wall Street Journal posting President Trump said,
oh, hell yeah. By the way, Lou, I can't see it on my side, but the mods let me know. So thank you for that, Lou, and dropping it like it's hot in the chat. Appreciate that. And thank you, Steve, for letting me know.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers should continue using traffic stops to arrest immigrants, reversing a recent decision by the agency. President Trump says ICE needs to conduct traffic stops to keep the agency strong, tough, and smart. The commander-in-chief commended ICE officers and urged them.
You as well, Lou. Appreciate that.
To get out the criminals and keep crime stat records coming. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams explains.
Nelson, front of the car.
President Trump says ICE traffic stops will continue on his watch, overturning the short and temporary suspension. On Truth Social, President Trump calling the traffic stop one of the agency's most effective crime-fighting tools, saying without it, ICE would play right into the criminals' hands.
You have a warrant for your arrest?
Put them for arrest or what?
With immigration.
Border czar Tom Homan tells Fox agents still have many other options to make arrests.
You can certainly arrest the alien when he parks the car, where he gets to where he's going. But there's going to be situations where they need to do vehicle stops.
ICE agents depend on traffic stops to make immigration arrests because a judicial warrant is not needed.
Very easy to do those stops versus going into a house, going into a neighborhood.
Democrats demanding answers after 2 fatal ICE-involved shootings in less than a week, one in Texas and one in Maine. DHS says agents were not wearing body cameras in either incident.
And they were both immigrants.
Republicans had agreed to our proposal for body cameras. The victims killed in Texas and Maine so tragically might be alive today.
DHS supports it, and they've gotten money now from Congress to outfit all of the body cameras.
Yeah, I know that, Steve, it's crazy.
But they were shut down, right, for over 75 days.
DHS tells Fox body cameras have been deployed to more than half of the field offices so far and say the remaining teams will receive them within the next 60 days. In New York, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
And taking a look here at a Truth Social post by the president, he says the men and women of ICE are doing a great job, one that has to be done. Crime is way down in America, in many cases, with numbers that haven't been seen in decades. The open border policy of sleepy Joe Biden allowed 25 million people to pour into our country, unchecked and unvetted. Many were criminals, and we have to get them out. In order to do this, we must be strong, tough, and smart, and we cannot give up one of ICE's most important and effective crime-fighting tools, the traffic stop. Once we do, we are playing right into the criminals' hands. The radical left Democrats would like to see this done, but it won't happen on my watch. ICE, be judicious, fair, and smart, and go back and do your very important job. Keep those crime stat records coming. Remember that you are loved and respected in America. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He signs off there as President Donald J. Trump. Now, Ted Hesson covers immigration for the Washington Post, and he joins us now. Hello, good evening to you.
We'll get his...
So, Ted...
Excuse me. We'll get the front monologue real quick, but that's it.
This has been a quick suspension and reversal. What's the latest you're reporting?
It has been a whiplash week. As you mentioned, there have been these 2 shooting deaths involving ICE officers in a 6-day period in the last week and a half or so, or over a 6-day period. And since then, on Monday, we saw that ICE issued an order to halt.
What's up, Charlie Rose, by the way? Good morning to you.
Stops as what appeared to be a response to this. But just after 2 days of being in effect, the president this morning posted on Truth Social that he actually supported ICE doing these traffic stops and that they were an essential tool for the work that they do. Since then, we've confirmed with a White House official and with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security that
you be safe out there, Bill, and happy birthday to you tomorrow.
The policy's been reversed. So this pause, this change of direction was very short-lived. It was clear that the president felt he needed to intervene or wanted to intervene, and the department followed suit.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you more about that in just a moment. But
And that's really it. But I do want to hear this because this just popped
we
up.
did
I want to see
receive this memo. Fox News obtained this that DHS sent out to field office directors yesterday. And Ted, I'll bring you back in here. You can see that memo there on your screen. I'll read it. The White House tells me that President Trump overturned the suspension of ICE traffic stops this morning. This after DHS sent a memo out to all field office directors yesterday saying all vehicle stops were suspended until further notice. The White House says there was no policy change, just an internal DHS memo that was quickly overturned. And you can see that memo there on the left-hand side of your screen. But Ted,
So Trump came in and said, no, we can't have that.
how did this initial suspension all go down in the first place?
That's a good question, and I'll allow him to answer this, and then we got to move on.
Well, I mean, we know that immigration enforcement is a central issue for the president, and he's been pushing to increase arrests, and he made a campaign promise to have record levels of deportations. In the last few weeks, we've seen that push increase. In January, after the 2 U.S. citizens were killed in Minneapolis, we saw ICE retreat to some degree and back off of intense public street actions and street enforcement actions. But then in recent weeks, we saw those arrests picking back up again. And along with that, we've had these 2 shooting deaths. So that appeared to prompt this change of policy. But as we see, it didn't last very long. The president has reversed course on it. I mean, all of this illustrates what a tightrope act the Trump administration.
Yeah, and Trump basically came out and said, this is the one thing that we can't lose in the aspect of ICE is traffic stops. So he reversed it. All right, enough of that. Trump tells Tehran to, quote, behave as U.S. wraps up fresh strikes on Iran. Now, this is in context. We're doing everything in chronological order here, leading us up until current moment right now. But this came out about, I think this came out about 10 p.m. last night for me. Central Standard Time came out about that time. So let me go ahead and bring this up and we'll figure out what's going on here. And we did about 7 hours worth of work last night over there in Iran in the regards to the United States and their striking, multiple targets. So anyways.
Good evening to you. You're watching live now from Fox. My name is Alexandra Goldberg. It's good to be with you on this Wednesday night.
I always find it weird how she introduces herself. She always has that kind of like, I don't know. There's like that weird facial, and it's a thing that girls do, like even on like Instagram and shit. It's like, I don't know. It's interesting.
New information from the U.S. Central Command putting this on social media saying CENTCOM ended an evening wave of strikes against Iran at 9 p.m. Eastern on July 15th. U.S. forces struck Iranian command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities to further denigrate Iran's ability to threaten innocent mariners crewing commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM used precision munitions to hit targets in multiple locations, including Bandar Abbas. Now, the U.S. military is ramping up its air attacks against Iran. I'm going to show you a look here at a simulation we have of marine traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. This is courtesy marine.
Yeah, that's deadlock right there.
Traffic. Now, of course, in the hopes of continued talks to end the war, the U.S. military is ramping up these attacks.
No,
this comes
Shyla.
as Israel levels its own threats.
No, it's like she only really does it when she introduces herself, and she does. It's like an anime thing or something. The way that they overextend their mouth, and I don't know. It's like this thing that it's like a trend
against Tehran. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson.
What's up, Chan with Stacks, my man? Good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat.
On the latest.
The American air campaign against Iran has expanded. U.S. Navy jets now launching strikes around the clock, including daylight hours, in an effort to bring Iran back to the negotiating table. This afternoon, U.S. forces hit Greater Tum Island.
Here, I got you, Steve Easy.
Why are you gay? You are gay.
Shit.
Outside the Strait of Hormuz for the first time. The increased volume of airstrikes, an attempt to clear a path through the Strait of Hormuz to increase shipping volume and potentially paving the way for U.S. warships to sail through, something that hasn't happened for 2 months. The U.S. naval blockade has now been in effect for more than 24 hours, forcing at least 2 commercial vessels to reverse course, with Iranian ports now.
And not only that, but we also disabled one ship. We shot into their engine room and disabled it.
Closed, U.S. officials estimate the return of this economic strangulation will cost Iran more than $400 million per day. Iran is striking back.
Yeah, when it comes down to a military front, Steve Easy, absolutely they're getting pounded. There's no doubt about that. That's the one that's our leverage on this whole war is actual force. And Iran's leverage is, of course, the Strait, and they're playing their game on the way that they can, right? We got Virginia Chaos gifting out a major banger, by the way. Very much appreciate that. 5 gifted memberships. Let's go. Thank you very much for that. Not only helping me, but 5 others in the IWF, man. So thank you so much. Definitely goes a long way.
7 commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz with up to a dozen crew members killed, missing, or wounded.
And he sent over a Cash App. What the fuck, dude? He sends over Cash App, brother VC. Sends $40. Little pay for your hard work, brother. Wow, dude, I can't thank you enough. Blown away, brother. I very much appreciate it. Let's go, dude.
Iran has attacked Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, and UAE in recent days with dozens of drones and missiles. Interestingly, Israel has not rejoined the bombing campaign against Iran, but are prepared if Iran fires first.
Do not count on it being quiet if you attack us. Do not count on a rerun, because it will not be a rerun.
Netanyahu is expected to fly to Washington this weekend. A meeting with President Trump has not yet been scheduled. In Tel Aviv, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Well, Jonathan Saye,
Papa D, who are you talking to? I'm interested now. Who is saying, making a claim that our Navy is getting
Iran research
that would definitely be false.
Analyst at the FDD joins us now to discuss. Hello, good evening to you.
Hi, great to be with you.
Well, we know this is back and forth strikes and days of them. Do you see this heading to an all-out?
Hold on, real quick. Just because Pablo's talking about a big ass sandwich,
man, motherfucker talk all the shit they want. But you see me, I'm sitting up here snacking on this big ass sandwich, not getting a fuck. Kiss my dick, motherfucker.
Perfect timing. Appreciate that.
War once again.
This is the closest we've been, and from the outside, it does appear to be all-out war. But the difference is, one, of course, Israel has not joined the efforts like they did in the early stages. But more importantly, it's the nature of the targets that does not indicate all-out war. So for it to have that definition, it needs to go beyond military assets like we see right now. It would have to include senior figures, officials that are calling the shots on behalf of Tehran, as well as certain sensitive nuclear sites, such as Pickaxe Mountain, things of that nature, paired with a diplomatic campaign, perhaps talking to dissidents inside Iran. So far, we haven't seen any of that. The ambitions continue to be a calculation in Washington that thinks there's under the assumption that pressure would bring Tehran back to the negotiating table, or it will moderate its behavior. But so far, we have not seen that strategy play out.
Well, tell us about the situation in the Strait and what impacts you expect on commercial shipping.
What we have seen, of course, is the regime has realized the main leverage it currently holds is the Strait of Hormuz. Initially, the perception was in Tehran that the proxies might be a better pressure point against both the United States and Israel. But as time went on, they realized the Strait is much cheaper. It's more efficient for them to use it effectively as a hostage. If you look at what it takes from the Iranian side to throttle the Strait, all you really need is one.
All you need to do is threaten it. That's it. I mean, you don't even really need to enforce it. But yeah, you can use a single drone or maybe 2 drones. Costs you 60 grand to do it. But you make an example out of a situation, and now all the insurance companies are canceling their cargo and all of that shit. They're saying, do not move that shit. Then the ship owners are telling their ship captains not to move. Yeah, it's very easy to threaten it and then enforce that by that. It's way harder to enforce the Strait to be open. I mean, that's a very hard task.
One individual with a drone or maybe a cheap missile, and that simply would increase oil prices overnight, just one attack. So they're probably going to double down on that. But that said, when we look at the attacks, they're primarily centered in the southern coast of Iran, the 4 provinces in addition to the islands that the Islamic Republic uses to wage war. So, of course, the U.S. military campaign currently would curb some of the regime's capabilities. But in the long term, it's a matter of time.
Papa, go have fun. Go over there on the vertical side. You can do it.
The Islamic Republic, again, recalculates and re-strategizes and imposes these attacks again, which is why it's from the administration point of view, they are seeking to not only remove the capabilities of the Islamic Republic, but also the intent by signing an agreement or compelling them to come to the negotiation table.
You're seeing the Strait of Hormuz there on your screen. That's courtesy marine traffic. The U.S. reimposed a naval blockade. What was the tipping point for the United States to play this card again?
Real quick before he answers that, make sure you guys hit that like button. You don't have to like all the craziness that's happening around the globe here, but you guys can like it for me and what we're doing here. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side.
In short, it was Iran's violation of the MOU that was signed about 16 days ago at this point, and that's all it took. So if you look at the different articles of the Memorandum of Understanding, the Islamic Republic was receiving sanction waivers and was able to repatriate those funds. Effectively, it was tilted in its favor, and all it had to do was not to attack vessels going through the
Dude, do you guys not have Dairy Queen, by the way, Charles, in Australia? You don't have Dairy Queen?
trade. And it did so for a variety of reasons, but ultimately that was enough for Washington to maybe realize that they're not dealing with pragmatic individuals like they had initially thought. And the key point about the blockade is it's really not only the continuation of the maximum pressure campaign, but it's the most assertive form of its enforcement, in a sense that sanctions can only prevent.
And thank you for that, Shyla. I very much appreciate that.
So much. But the physical blockade was preventing also oil smuggling going to China. So the regime, of course, is losing hundreds of millions of dollars. And given the economic implications domestically for them, given how fragile that is, and given that they have to pay their own personnel, this in the long term is not going to play out well for them.
All right, so I think that we got enough from that monologue here. Let's go ahead and move on because we still got updates going into this morning, obviously. So this coming out this morning, U.S. expands strikes into northern Iran, and Tehran launches retaliation drone attack. Now, Tehran was targeted this morning. Let's go ahead and bring this up, which is a big deal, by the way. That's like their New York City. That's like their capital, you know.
And we want
like
to pivot gears.
They're DC, but even bigger
now, and continue talking about the ongoing conflict over in Iran as the U.S. airstrikes hit northern Iran as it disables ships trying to run the blockade. The United States intensified its strikes targeting Iran early Thursday, hitting targets further north as American forces also fired into a ship it accused of trying to break its naval blockade on the Islamic Republic. Iran retaliated with missile and drone fire targeting Bahrain and Kuwait before dawn. And this is some of the latest video that we are getting here, where you can see those unclassified videos now and those strikes taking place there on your screen from early Thursday. Now, days of back and forth strikes by the United States and Iran across the Middle East and renewed threats to the Strait of Hormuz have shredded the interim deal to end the Iran war and could tip the region.
They're not going to have much of any military equipment by the end of this. I mean, we've struck a lot of military equipment.
Back into all-out war. Already, Iranian officials say U.S. strikes have killed more than 35 people and wounded more than 300
Look at
others.
the tower going down.
Strikes also reached into areas around
Damn, they got that on video like that.
For the first time of this latest round.
That was actually a sick-ass clip. Hold on. I gotta bring this back and watch that strike again.
And renewed threats to the Strait of Hormuz have shredded the interim deal to end the Iran war and could tip the region back into all-out war. Already, Iranian officials say U.S. strikes have killed more than 35 people and wounded more than 300 others. Strikes also reached into areas around Iran's capital, Tehran, for the first time of this latest round of violence. When the U.S. and Israel launched the war on Iran.
I think they were moving a drone right there by, like on a trailer.
Latest round of violence.
Check it out.
When the U.S. and Israel launched the war on Iran on February 28th, Tehran effectively closed the strait to shipping traffic. I do want to bring you out now to a live look there of the Strait of Hormuz that we have here, courtesy of marine traffic, as we continue to read off some of the latest here that we are getting from these overnight strikes. A move that sent the price of oil, fertilizer, and many other goods soaring far beyond the region and gave Iran major leverage in negotiations, according to AP News. Now, the U.S. and Iran trade threats as attacks intensify as those rising prices pose a particular challenge to U.S. President Donald Trump and his Republican Party, which hopes to retain control of Congress in the elections in November. But Washington has struggled to successfully reopen the waterway, leading to President Trump.
Yeah, because enforcing this, you would have to put like basically an Iron Dome, and that's essentially what our military is already kind of doing in the area. But still, you can't. It's so hard to track every little thing. I mean, whether it be drone attacks that are coming off the coast right here, or missile attacks that are coming off the coast, or the mosquito fleet. They still do have a couple of little mosquito boats that are running around causing havoc. Well, they're not really causing havoc. They don't have many of them left. There used to be a pretty big mosquito fleet, but they don't have as many as they used to.
Reimposing the naval blockade Wednesday. Iran's parliament speaker and lead negotiator said Iran was prepared for a fuller military confrontation if the U.S. does not live up to the terms of the interim deal. And Iran's Parliamentary Revolutionary Guard threatened to halt all energy exports from the Middle East over the blockade, saying, quote, the export of oil and gas from the region will be either for everyone or for no one, the Guard said. Trump again insisted Iran was ready to strike a peace deal, but he did not elaborate, saying, quote, they don't like what we're doing, and they do want to settle. We'll find out whether or not.
Yeah, well, they want the strikes to stop for damn sure, but there's no actual way to get to that settlement. It's just this loop, this circle that we're going to be in, and we're going to pound them into the sand there, and then they ask for, hey, stop the strikes, blah blah blah. Let's come up with a MOU or whatever, and then sure, then what? 8 days later, it gets totally demolished. I mean, and that first MOU was bullshit anyways. That MOU, I was like, I hope to God, believe it or not, that this kind of doesn't work out in that aspect, because it wasn't favorable. The wording was way too broad, and it was specific on us having to move right away and allowing them to move at their pace, which is like so frustrating. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
With them, or we just finish them off, he said Wednesday at the U.S. Army War
He did say that
College
yesterday.
in Pennsylvania. We do have this ex post here from Central Command. I want to bring this up on your screen. It says U.S. forces struck Iranian command centers, air defense sites, missile and drone capabilities, and coastal surveillance facilities to further degrade Iran's ability to threaten innocent mariners crewing commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM used precision munitions to hit targets in multiple locations, including Bandar Abbas. The U.S. military is holding Iran accountable at the commander-in-chief's discretion. So just some of the latest that we're bringing you there when it comes to those ongoing developments between the United States and Iran. With that, we do have to slide away for our final.
All right, so let's get into this next story here. Rubio launches effort to target left-wing terrorists. Now, I'm not sure what exactly what organization is being discussed here. I have no idea. So this came out like 5 minutes before we went live.
It's the protection of its country. This is a sacred obligation that should transcend all political and all ideological divisions. It is why, for example, we have militaries. It's why we have intelligence agencies. It's why counterterrorism bureaus exist, why police forces exist, keeping our people.
Oh, shit. Hold on. Actually, something that is pressing right now that just came out. Let me go ahead and bring this up. This is actually very important before we get into any of that. Trump, it looks like, it's to address. No, he is addressing at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. That is true. Okay, so hold on, damn it. I thought it was actually Trump speaking. Damn it. Now let me go and pull this back up. And 3, 2, 1. We'll go back to Rubio.
Its country. This is a sacred obligation that should transcend all political and all ideological divisions. It is why, for example, we have militaries. It's why we have intelligence agencies. It's why counterterrorism bureaus exist, why police forces exist. Keeping our people safe is the reason why every country represented here has all of these things. We are all very well acquainted, as of now, of course, by now, with what has been described as traditional terrorist threats. For 25 years, the term counterterrorism, at least in the West, has meant first and foremost the fight against radical Islamist extremism. And there's a very poignant reason for that. On the 11th of September, in the year of 2001, 19 men murdered 3,000 people here in my country. Then that same enemy struck Europe, murdering nearly 200 commuters aboard trains in Madrid in 2004 and 52 more aboard London buses.
Damn it. Did he announce the group? I was reading comments and I didn't hear him say the actual group. I want to know the group he's talking about here.
1,000 people here in my country. 19 men murdered 3,000 people here in my country. Then that same enemy struck Europe.
What enemy?
Fight against radical Islamist extremism. And there's a very poignant reason for that. On the 11th of September, in the year of 2000.
So he's talking about just Islamic radicals in general.
2001, 19 men murdered 3,000 people here in my country. Then that same enemy struck Europe, murdering nearly 200 commuters aboard trains in Madrid in 2004 and 52 more aboard London buses and the underground in the following year. The entire architecture of Western counterterrorism was rebuilt from the studs around the singular traumatic event. That made sense at the time. Our job was to keep our people safe, and the realm of terrorism, the specter of global jihad, was the premier threat to their safety. And so we went to.
No, they're specifically talking about just Islam. Well, actually, it's kind of broad, not specific. It's kind of broad. Just Islamic radicalists, and he's talking about political violence in the aspect of Islam towards, our people, kind of thing.
And we assembled a global coalition, working with many of the friends that are represented here in this room today. And we destroyed the ISIS caliphate. We killed al-Baghdadi and al-Zawahiri and bin Laden. And we built intelligence and law enforcement systems capable of anticipating and stopping attacks before the public even hears about them. Every country represented here today has disrupted a terrorist threat at some point emanating from this source. Jihadist attacks and plots in the United States are down by 2/3 since ISIS's peak.
Shit, Virginia Chaos is freaking coming out and supporting hardcore today, guys. He's carrying the stream. So listen, Virginia Chaos, thank you very much, brother. $5 comes through, says Mike Ball for president. Happy B-Day to So Loud. Yes, sir. I would never want to be the president of the United States. I wouldn't. I have no want or desire for that, to be honest.
The number of people killed.
Thank you very much, kind sir, for that. It goes a long way, brother.
Killed by jihadist terrorism in Europe dropped by roughly 97% from the year 2015 to the year 2024. In other words, to a very great extent, our counterterrorism strategy has worked. The threat has not disappeared, of course. It will continue to exist, particularly so long as we tolerate immigration systems that imports these threats directly into our respective homelands. But this threat has been severely diminished. The world looks very different today because of it. For far too long, however, our counterterrorism doctrine has had a blind spot when it comes to extremist violence from the political left. Even today, the very idea that far-left terrorism could be a serious threat is treated as a right-wing fever dream, or worse, as a dangerous fascist conspiracy. It's treated.
Hell yeah, Motobomb. Great to hear that you made it in one piece.
Treated this way by many in the press, by many in academia and our universities, and by many of our legacy institutions. You will no doubt see the dogma rear its head in the coverage of this very conference. In spite of the clear and the undeniable reality, in spite of the...
That's right. You know what they say about OT. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Send in your freaking money, yo.
Objective numbers and statistics. In spite of the fact that in this room today, there are representatives from across the political spectrum, we will hear this kind of organized violence and terror will be dismissed. It will be dismissed as a partisan fiction.
What's up, brother TNT? My man, good morning to you. Great to see you in the chat,
industry
man.
Grew up in our countries around the study of extremism. We have think tanks and fellowships and journals and consultancies with the unspoken understanding among them that the only kind of political violence that was a true threat to our system, that only one kind of political violence was a true threat to the system. A bomb planted by a neo-Nazi group was a nefarious and murderous act of evil. It is. But a bomb planted by a Marxist revolutionary, well, that's just merely a tragic excess of idealism. Perhaps its means were misplaced or overzealous, but its ends were virtuous and just. That's the implication of how they treat it. For years, this extraordinary ideological prejudice was embedded in the way we talked about political violence and extremism. It was repeated again and again until it was accepted as the neutral.
What's up, Fidel? By the way, good morning to you. And brother So Loud on his birthday sends a 10 spot to us over here on Insane Wheels. Yo, I can't thank you enough for that. He says, overtime pay, keep up the great work, bro. And happy birthday, kind sir. Very much appreciate you, my man.
An objective baseline, so entrenched in the mainstream conventional wisdom that it came to be regarded as an apolitical fact. It is the reason why here in my country, so many people in positions of power have repeatedly dismissed acts of violence and even terrorism as legitimate forms of political expression, so long as they served a left-wing cause. It is why during the
Man, so far so good, Fidel. I very much appreciate you, my man.
so-called George Floyd riots in the summer of 2020, as criminals and extremists burned and looted their way through America's great cities and nearly brought the country to its knees, city governments all across the country simply refused to prosecute the people conducting these acts of violence and terror. It is the reason for the now infamous image, maybe you all recall this, of a news anchor from a very prominent agency, a news anchor, standing in a neighborhood, consumed in flames. Meanwhile, the chyron on the bottom read that the protests were mostly peaceful. This was.
I remember me covering that that whole when they were making the claim. Oh yeah, it was mostly peaceful. Mostly peaceful. I didn't see no peace anywhere during that time.
Something worse than a double standard.
I was covering it live.
Violence was not just excused; it was treated as sacrosanct, a protected class unto itself. That era has to end. The coalition in this room today includes political leaders and experts and law enforcement officials from more than 60 countries.
Yes, get the likes up, everybody. I very much appreciate that. You don't have to like all this craziness, but you guys can like it from me and what we do here on Insane Wheels. So thank you, guys. Double tap that screen if you're on the vertical side.
Across the world. You have come here from a wide range of governments, parties, and political persuasions. Some of your governments and ours disagree publicly. Sometimes we disagree sharply about trade, about energy, about immigration. You did not come here today because you have been persuaded on every single aspect of the American view of the world. You came here. You are here because 2 weeks ago, a 72-year-old woman was burned on over 80% of her body in her own home in Greece, and she died, executed by a firebomb because her daughter dared to stand for office. You are here today because for 5 days this winter, the lights went out in Berlin, the longest blackout in the city since the Second World War, sparked by an attack that left tens of thousands of households without power in the freezing cold and left an 83-year-old woman dead. You are here and you came because a month after that Berlin blackout, a French 23-year-old succumbed to traumatic brain injuries, beaten to death on the streets of Lyon by a group of far-left militant thugs. You are here because your political leaders are being attacked and stabbed and shot in your streets, because your businesses have been bombed, because your railways have been sabotaged, because your police officers have been beaten and burned. You are here because this is real, and it is getting worse, and it can no longer be denied, and it can no longer be ignored, because it is time to crush this evil forever. The simple fact is, none of this that I've just described is new. Far-left political terrorism is not a recent-day modern novelty. It is not a fiction manufactured by conservative politicians. For most of the modern era, it was in fact the dominant.
Yeah, the ratio is off, yo. We got 150 people in here between both the live streams. Let's get the likes up, yo. Come on.
Of political violence. Every one of our friends here from the nations of the Western Hemisphere remember the decades of kidnappings and bombings and assassinations and executions, the violent terror of the Tupamaros, of the Monteseros, of the FARC, of the ELN. You remember the inhuman savagery of Peru's Shining Path, the Maoist fanatics who massacred the peasant villages of Peru, hacking pregnant women and newborn infants to death with axes and machetes. You remember the tens of thousands of Marxist guerrillas trained to kill in Castro's terrorist camps. All of you here from Europe remember. You remember the machine gun massacres of Italy's Red Brigades, which held a 5-time prime minister captive for 55 days before subjecting him to a revolutionary so-called people's trial and executing him in 1978. You remember the Red Army factions near.
That's crazy, Tommy. I'll have to look into that.
Three-decade campaign of bombings, kidnappings, and assassinations in Germany, murdering dozens and injuring hundreds more. You remember the 17 November organization in Greece, the Marxist extremists that terrorized Athens for more than a quarter century, including, by the way, shooting my country's CIA station chief dead outside of his home in front of.
What's up, Extra Surprise? Great to see you in the chat, bro. Good morning.
His wife, as they were returning home from a Christmas party. And here in America, we remember. We remember the same reign of deadly terror, justified by the same slogans, motivated by the same wicked ideas. We remember the Weather Underground, which bombed the Pentagon, which bombed the State Department, and bombed the Capitol. We remember the Black Liberation Army, which staged armed robberies and executed police officers at point-blank range. We remember the Symbionese Liberation Army, which shot a public school superintendent to death with cyanide-packed hollow point bullets. In one 18-month period between 1971 and 1972, the FBI counted some 2,500 bombings on American soil, a rate of nearly 5 a day. The overwhelming share of that violence came from left-wing extremists. Between 1970 and 1980, 93% of terrorist attacks in the West came from the far extremist left. These are numbers that would shock most Americans today because we've been taught to believe that this kind of political violence, it simply doesn't exist or it's being exaggerated. But it does exist, and we're actually underestimating it. And our nations bear the scars to prove it. And today we face a new wave of this old evil. Here in the United States, the share of left-wing terrorist attacks and plots has risen to levels not seen in decades. In Germany, far-left violence has jumped by more than 40% in just the last year alone. In Greece, more than 80% of radical violence is now driven by far-left and anarchist actors.
Europe is definitely feeling it, and I think that's where he's at right now, somewhere speaking on this.
These are not abstract statistics. Americans have seen what those numbers mean. An all-out assault on our immigration officers, sniper attacks, explosives, armed ambushes, a transgender shooter opening fire on Catholic elementary school students as they pray, his gun marked with slogans like, "Where is your God now?" A healthcare executive executed in cold blood in the streets. Multiple assassination attempts on a sitting president, and the murder of the greatest conservative activist of a generation, a man who happened to also be a husband and the father of 2 young children, shot and killed while speaking to a crowd of students. This is a distinctive and unique evil. It has always been driven by a hatred, above all else, a hatred for civilization itself. It is a revolt of the worst against the best, a revolt of the weak and the cowardly against the strong and the good. It is perpetrated by those who cannot build, who cannot create, who cannot achieve great things, and take their revenge upon the world for their own inadequacy by seeking to destroy those who can. This is what radical leftism is. It may wear various different slogans and ideologies across place and time. They can call themselves anti-capitalist or anti-imperialist or communist or anarchist or Marxist, but the fundamental character is always the same. It's always the same. It is a poisonous resentment cloaked in the language of equality and justice and liberation, an overwhelming need to tear down what greater men have built, to wreck what is beautiful and what is right on behalf of people who are only filled with ugliness and have nothing else to offer the world. Through violence and through terror, they once again seek to impose their ugliness on all of us. The old dogma was wrong. The old dogma was wrong. None of this is driven by idealism. It is not utopian. In fact, it is the opposite. One of the criticisms you sometimes hear of communism, for example, is that it sounds good in theory, but it never works in practice. That's actually not true. Communism does not sound good in theory. The world it envisions for all of us is small, flat, gray, leveled of all.
Yes, real quick, make sure you guys, because I'm watching the chat as well, make sure you guys join in on the Discord, man. We have a good time over there, as well as we break news over there minute by minute as well. There's a breaking news section where I post minute by minute breakdowns of what's happening, especially during the heat of the moment of warfare, right? So
drained of all that is good and noble in the human soul. The world it envisions is a world
the link is down in the video description down below in the video.
Courage, a world without creativity or ambition, a world without heroes or glory or great causes to strive towards, a world without miracles, without myths, without men who rise above the rest to do incredible and extraordinary things. And the world communism envisions is a world without God. For these architects of revolutionary violence, the towering achievement of our civilization, for them, it's an unbearable humiliation, a reminder of what they cannot do and a reminder of what they cannot be. So they choose instead to destroy. They attack pipelines, they attack railroads, they attack power grids and laboratories, the physical embodied symbols of power and invention and achievement. This is the nature of the terrorism we face today. They despise the West because the West is great. This is an international conference because we are facing a transnational threat. These are not distinct and isolated cells. They are interconnected networks. They do not recognize our borders. They do not believe, in fact, in the nation state itself. They coordinate, they communicate, they travel, they train, and they act together, sharing the same infrastructure, sharing the same enemies, sharing the same mission. Antifa militants and their comrades travel from across Europe and to the Americas to participate in each other's attacks, to funnel propaganda and training materials and target information, through shared encrypted channels, moving through underground networks of safe houses and finance, and sustain their operations through transnational funds. And they work alongside hostile foreign states that share their mission, like Iranian proxy networks, who are increasingly intimately tied to leftist militant groups around the world. The Cuban regime's sprawling intelligence and ideological network helped to build the far left in our country and in our hemisphere. And it remains inextricably linked to the far left groups and movements across and beyond the West. Today's far left terrorists can raise money in one country. They can host their communications in a second country. They can receive training in a third country. They can recruit militants in a fourth country, and then together strike a target in a fifth country. And so we have no choice but to confront this menace together. We will either cooperate across our borders, or the terrorists will continue to exploit the gaps between them. Under President Trump, for the first time, the United States is building the infrastructure.
Oh yeah, because you're on the horizontal side.
The partnership and the strategy to defeat the scourge of far left terror. The president signed National Security Presidential Memorandum Number 7, outlining a comprehensive strategy to investigate and disrupt Antifa terror networks and their allies. Last November, the State Department designated 4 violent far left extremist groups as foreign terrorist organizations, and there will be more designations soon. In December, we announced rewards for justice, offering up to $10 million for information disrupting the financing behind these groups. In May, we convened the first counterterrorism law enforcement workshop, joining American law enforcement officials and their counterparts in our partner country nations together to map and develop strategies for dismantling these networks. The next workshop will be co-hosted with our partners in Germany. The coalition we're building together is already bearing fruit, and we are here today to build on that work. We can and we must identify and map this threat and rebuild our counterterrorism architecture to defeat it, just as we have done together before. Now we must do it together again. Through intelligence and information sharing, through coordinated law enforcement strategy, through financial targeting and disruption, we will dismantle these networks brick by brick.
And don't worry, he's almost over here.
It is time for the people of the civilized world to defend ourselves, to stand united against this encroaching darkness and fight for what is ours. It is easy to destroy great things. It is far more difficult to make them. The enemies of civilization are only capable of the former. They are only capable of destroying great things. All they know is destruction. But we have built great things together. We have done it time and again. We know what we must do, and now we must do it. Thank you for coming today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps us up for the morning. I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough. Be on the lookout. 9 p.m. Eastern is when Trump is supposed to be addressing the nation. So I will not be covering that this evening. I'll be eating a big fat steak around that time. So anyways, make sure you guys be on the lookout for that. And I will be covering what he says tomorrow morning. I'll pick the highlights and stuff or whatever. And if it's short enough, maybe we'll even play the whole thing or whatever. So anyways, I can't thank each and every single one of you guys enough for allowing me to be able to do this, and us as a team. I can't thank you guys enough. Making sure you guys hit that like button as well as double tap that screen on the way out. I can't thank you guys enough for that. Listen, we'll be back tomorrow morning for more of the world's madness. Until then, God bless you guys. We'll see you guys very soon, and stay safe out there. Much love.
From the depths of darkness, a voice